Hello, welcome. I'm Jason Labrum. It's Financial Detox. We're coming back to you with another great episode, and in studio with me, as always,
Alex Klingensmith.
There we go. Way to go, Alex.
Thanks,
welcome.
Man. Nailed it.
Here we
we're
go.
supposed to grab everybody's attention immediately.
We're crushing today. Here's what we're talking about today. Immediately, we want you to know how this show is going to be helpful to you. And it's going to be helpful because we're going to talk about something really important that nobody wants to talk about. It's traditionally terribly boring. This will be a short, poppy, quick show, but we're going to talk about trusts, and particularly in California, where we live, and why you need a trust, what it does. We're going to talk about successor trustees, who handles and takes over your affairs when you are incapacitated, unable to make decisions for yourself, or you pass on. This is a big, big topic. Alex, I want to start with the story. One of the early days in my career, I had a very good friend and client, and he was a little bit older, great guy. He was awesome. Loved him. He got sick. And he had his best friend as the successor trustee because it was a second marriage. And he died. And unfortunately, then his new spouse, second spouse, wanted to do things different than what he had dictated in his trust and his will and estate. And that caused a rift between second wife and best friend, who then they ended up in a lawsuit together. It was a nightmare, basically ruined his best friend's life for 4 or 5 years. I mean, just a horrible scenario with a kid involved, a kid from a previous involved. And just a nightmare of one story in which, Alex, I know you have 10 or 15 of those as well. And we have, dozens or hundreds of them across the span of our career. So getting this right is a big deal. You want to listen to this show. You want to pay attention to what we're talking about. And then you need to know that we can help you. At IDA Wealth, our wealth management firm, which works in concert with Financial Detox, we not only do investment management and comprehensive financial planning and all that really cool stuff to help you understand your cash flow and investments, but we also do your tax returns. And even furthermore, we will help you with your trust. We aren't attorneys. We don't draft the trust document, but we have a network of attorneys where we will work with them as your quarterback, as your personal private CFO, to facilitate creating your trust and making sure it says what you think it says and that it says the right thing to ensure a smooth transition of your assets to the next generation or to whoever you choose to pass it on to. Alex, any follow-up thoughts on that?
I have a story too. Mine's a happier one though.
Good. I like happy stories.
I mean, it has a little bit of both, but mostly happy. Yours made me kind of bummed out and sad for that poor kid that ended up having to live through that. But yeah, and your buddy that lost his life. So death is a part of life. And if you own any sort of assets at all, you have to think about that, or you should be thinking about the next generation if you care about them. My grandfather actually got his start. This is back in the 50s, right? Early 50s, late 40s in LA and Orange County area. He set up shop in Huntington Beach, actually. And he was a probate attorney because there was a lot of demand for that type of work back then, I guess. And he did that successfully for a few years. And then he moved into kind of estate planning, because probate law is the nitty gritty bad story. It's like terrible. It's depressing. It's stressful. It's a lot of people fighting all the time. And then the government getting involved, like you mentioned. After a few years of that, he had a servant's heart. He was a Rotarian for his whole career, his whole life, until he passed away at 93 years old. About 8 years ago.
Great man.
So he did estate planning and he helped solve people's problems. So he did exactly this kind of work we're talking about for many, many people, mostly business owners in the Orange County area. And one day what happened was one of his favorite clients is a couple, and the man, the husband was an owner of Los Angeles Chemical Company. So a large chemical company at the time. He died. And it wasn't expected. And it was the widow then inherited the company, and there was a decent estate plan in place, probably arguably very good, because my grandfather was the one that drafted it for him. And the wife was the surviving widow, was like, you know what? I can't run this company. There really wasn't a succession plan. Another topic we can spin off of it.
No buy-sell agreement on the business.
No.
Was he the only owner of that business?
He was. And so my grandfather was such a trusted advisor to the family from an estate planning, and helped administer this trust, helped make sure everything went smoothly for the widow and her family. Everything was successful there. No bad story there. But the company now was left with no leader, and the woman didn't want to run the company. She's like, I don't want to run this company. It's a big company. There's hundreds of employees. Right. And so she asked him, my grandfather, to buy her out and run the company. So that was his next career, was running a chemical company, which he had no experience at all. But I tell that story just because it affects everybody. And especially if you have any sort of family dynamics at play, good or bad, you have to think about these things because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when your time is going to come. And the last thing you want to be remembered as is the person that didn't prepare the family for the next generation.
So good. What a good point. And I mean, we really should expand the show, but with the risk of going too long, I think you have to put in this conversation succession plans for business owners. What is your succession plan if you don't have others significant or owners who are capable of running it? But if you do have other owners, then it becomes a buy-sell agreement, right? Like we have at our firm, if something happens for me, I'm bought out, right? There's a succession plan also. So really important thing. So again, to recap it from the top, right? You've got a trust. How do you tell the state of California or tell the world what you want to happen with your assets if you're unable to make decisions or if you pass on? You've got who's going to be in charge of that if you're incapacitated or dead. You may have a house to sell. You may have a business to run. You may have securities to sell. You've got to make distributions for expenses. So that's successor trustee, as it's called, the successor, the next person to take over as the trustee of your trust. And I think then you just add in right on there, like you said, Alex, buy-sell agreements for business owners and succession plans. Let's talk about the trust. A lot of people misunderstand what a trust is for. So number one, in California, if you have more than $208,000 in accounts that don't have designated beneficiaries or assets that don't have designated beneficiaries, that can mean equity in your home. That can mean life insurance. That can mean investment accounts. That can mean checking accounts, CDs, savings, brokerage, cars, gun collections, art collections, you name it. If you have more than $208,000 as of April of 25, your estate, and you don't have a trust, your estate will most likely be triggered into California probate. That is where, in general terms, very general terms, the state of California is now going to decide what they think you wanted to do with your money. Probate is very expensive. You pay the state of California to decide those things for you. And it also typically takes about 18 months to settle it. So you're not only paying for 18 months. Up to 6%,
I've heard. 6% of the estate's value. So that, like if you have $1 million estate, I mean, you can do the math. It adds up fast.
You could imagine with the money grab California has going on, including $3 in taxes on gasoline, that they're going to do everything they can to make that process arduous, painful, and very expensive. So you just, bottom line, here's the deal. You don't want to go into probate. So how do you avoid probate? Is you have a trust. And a trust will also carry inside of it what's called a will, which you've probably heard of wills or trust and wills and trusts. And that gets confusing for people, like why a trust, why a will? Well, it depends on the state. It depends on the state laws. But a will is basically a simple version of a trust. And a well-drafted trust document will have a will inside of it that talks about things like your healthcare directives, and it'll be a pour-over will, which will grab anything that wasn't titled in the name of the trust accurately, and it'll sweep it into the trust at your death or incapacitation.
I like the personalized nature that I've seen in wills too, where people can actually list out like specific smaller things that are smaller, maybe to like an objective third party, but to the family have meaningful value. Yeah. Like that's where you could see in a will, like I want this heirloom thing to go to this person versus that person. Is kind of like your last wishes from a very personal nature versus the trust, which is much more kind of mechanical, right?
Totally. I mean, jewelry goes to maybe the daughter, and not to be sexist, maybe the guns go to the son, right? I mean, I know that my parents, I don't really need or want my mom's jewelry. Maybe my wife does. But I don't think we're big jewelry people anyway, but the guns, I definitely want the guns, right? So, Brian, what are you laughing at in the background, Brian? I hear our producer laughing at me. That sucks.
You need some bling. You know?
I can see him wearing jewelry too, Brian. Yeah, Jason totally wears. Not right now because you're on camera. But I'm sure you got all kinds of stuff.
I have nothing. I don't have we don't have anything. Like my wife has Target purses. So by the way, if you're trying to rob me, good luck, because you're going to end up with a Target purse or a watch, a Casio watch from 1985.
A Casio.
I mean, I don't know. It's not good. All right.
Back to the trust.
Trust. You got to
trust.
Do this trust. Now, how hard is it? What does it cost? All right. So a trust is not hard to create. There's estate planning attorneys all over. We, as a wealth management firm, the right wealth management firm, should be able to either connect you with the right trust person or even facilitate that. We facilitate it for our clients. As kind of a new offering, because we've always wanted to develop and do this, and we have recently accomplished that goal. So we can literally work as a liaison. We already have a client's financial plan. We know everything about them, kids, assets, what they want to have with their money, everything they want to have happen. So it makes sense for us to coordinate and work with that attorney team to draft the document, confirm with the client it says what they want to say. Your costs are, I'd say, on the very lowest end, the most simplistic by maybe an unsophisticated attorney team would be $2,500. On the high end, you're maybe $10,000, somewhere in that range for trusts. And so get a trust, do it. Understand what it is, get the basics. We're happy to help. You can always check us out at financialdetox.com. Get a hold of us. It's super easy to find us. And we want to guide you and help you make really good decisions, because this is a critical one.
Let's walk them through like some of the basic stuff too. Cause so let's pretend like I'm a married guy, which I am actually. I'm not pretending. Okay. And I don't have a trust, and I have 3 kids.
Is there something you need to tell us, Alex?
Yeah.
Tish.
I was going to use a different example, but I'm a perfect example. Like
He's going to end up on the Coldplay cam.
Right.
Oh gosh. No. I kind of like Coldplay, but I wouldn't go see him. It seems like a waste.
You wouldn't go see him with a mistress?
I wouldn't go by myself even.
Camera?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I like Coldplay. I just don't want to spend the money. Anyways, I have 3 kids. They're all minors, 15, 13, 11. I've got a wife, a wonderful wife. I've got some cars, got
Definitely
a house.
The better
some
half.
other,
yeah, she's better.
Yeah, everybody forgets my name. They're like, oh, you're Tish's husband. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
I have a name.
No, I don't even tell my name anymore. It doesn't matter.
You're just like, exactly. Tish's husband. Just call
me. Good enough. So I have stuff. And I have retirement accounts. Those have designated beneficiaries. And I'm meeting with Jason. I'm meeting with you. And you're my financial advisor at IDA. And you're going through our financial plan, Tish and mine. And we're going through all the different categories. And you're like, gosh, the ownership of all of your stuff's in your joint names. Like you're in Tish's name. So they're jointly owned. Okay, great. Transfer on death may be applicable to some of the things. So like technically maybe that avoids probate, but it's a little tricky. But there's a lot of stuff. You're like, wait a minute. Dude, you need a trust. I'm like, why? I'm like, because then you create this trust and then you walk me through all these really painful, difficult questions that cause Tish and I to argue. Yeah. For example, if we both die in a plane crash or something awful, car accident, who's going to take care of our kids? Right. Who's going to be the guardian, the official, legal guardian of our children? And then separately, but the same, who's going to control the money? So if somebody has to take care of the kids, who's be willing to take care of the kids. Otherwise,
guardianship. Yeah.
And somebody maybe a different person who's better with money, but not better with kids. That exists a lot, right? Maybe there's 2 separate people. One's in charge of the money. One's in charge of the actual kids.
Probably 2 different people. I mean, I know for my trust, my kids are getting older, not self-sufficient yet, but we have a whole plan, and the money is not going to be handled by the guardians. So yeah, you want to think about that, and that's what a trust deals with too. What about even bigger, or not bigger, but other questions too, Alex? Where, you have an accident and you're physically hurt, you're incapacitated, you can't make a decision, but or maybe you're like on life support. Yeah. And you're alive, but only because they're forcing food through a tube. Like who makes the decision to pull the plug? That's the healthcare directive aspect of the trust.
That comes in, I'd say, much more common when people hit their later years, 70s, 80s, 90s, where we see it all the time with our older clients that start to experience, unfortunately, dementia and Alzheimer's. Yeah. And then the kids get involved and there has to be powers of attorney. That's all part of this big, this big estate planning kind of package, if you will, to solve for all these things. And so your advisor at IDA would walk you through these tough things. The good thing, I was actually talking about this with some of our advisors yesterday or the day before, I think. We already kind of know all these things because this is the kind of relationship we have with our clients, because we're going through so many different important life experiences, life events with our clients that we're not making any assumptions. We still have to ask the question. The client actually inputs the information and takes responsibility for the decision. Can you change your mind while you're alive? Yes. Revocable trust means you can change your mind. I don't like that person anymore. They actually filed for bankruptcy. They're not my kid's guardian for money anymore. They're great with kids. They can still watch the kids, but I don't want them in charge of the money. You can change your mind.
It's totally revocable. It's amendable. I think I'm on my 5th amendment to my trust right now and about to do a 6th. Yeah, about to do a 6th. So the successor trustee, what you're talking about, is critical, and who to put. And I think what I want to encapsulate here, and we're getting close to even wrapping this up. So thanks for tuning in again to Financial Detox. If you like us, subscribe us. We always appreciate that. It helps our viewers know that we're putting out content that's worthwhile to listen to. But when you talk about the successor trustee, I think it's important to know that you don't have to pick that family member who doesn't know how to handle money very well, or your parent who's too old to be handling the affairs. You can actually do what's called a corporate trustee. So I think we've got a piece, and I don't think you can see this well. So if you want to get a diagram of this, just let us know. We'll shoot this over to you. But who do you have it, right? You can have an individual, a family member. That's one option, a person, a brother, a sister, a best friend. But you can also have a big mainstream bank corporate trustee, Bank of America Trust Company or Charles Schwab Trust Company or something. Nothing wrong with those. It's an option. And then the third option is to have a trust company that's more of a boutique trust company that has a relationship with your advisor. Then you have the connection or a connected circle of advisors. Personally, for me, I think that that's critical, that you have a connected circle of advisors. Other than that, how do you manage your tax advisor, your CPA, your estate planning attorney, your successor trustee? All these kind of things get really choppy and ugly trying to manage that. So we can help you talk through these decisions, but this is a decision that should be thought out. This should not be made quickly. It should be discussed with your spouse or family members. Make sure that whoever you're putting on as a successor trustee, if you decide to go the human being route, a family member, that they understand what the duties and obligations are and that they're willing to and want to accept it. Because it's a burden, right? You think about settling somebody's estate. Maybe there's kids and they're underage, and now you got to make distributions to those kids. One of them wants some extra money for something. What if it becomes a very specific task that requires specific experience and skills. And I think that's best served most of the time through a trust company, a professional fiduciary, somebody who works closely with your other advisors to make that seamless. It sounds overwhelming and seems like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this. But when you break it down, it's pretty simple, right? You have
this isn't the kind of thing you have to worry about that often. And there's a kind of a caveat to that though. Like just because you did a trust 15 or 20 years ago doesn't mean you're good to go. It means like probably every 5 to 10 years, maybe at the most even 5, go back and check with if you're married, check with your spouse and go through it. If you're not, make sure it's still what you think and want, because it's not that hard to change it. But then once it's too late, it's too late. So.
Well, and simple amendments are easy, right? I mean, even think about having a kid or their life events that happen. They do necessitate changing the trust to update. You have a kid, you have an estranged kid, whatever it is, things change in
second
our lives.
Marriage, like you mentioned, that happens. Deal. Life happens. Things need to evolve, right?
Yeah. So I think that's it. I mean, let's bring it to a wrap and keep this one short and sweet, Alex. I mean, so we talked about trust and this concept. It doesn't have to be the big bad voodoo scary concept. It's quite simple. You create a trust, make sure you have the right beneficiaries on your IRAs and any insurance policies and all that. Make sure you think through the successor trustee and know that you can have a successor trustee that's a perpetual, evergreen, ever living corporation or professional trustee company that works hand in hand with your advisors, whether your CPA or your financial advisor, to handle those affairs. Then there's no emotions. Right? Like we're dealing with so many situations where the parents have conflicting things going on with the distribution of assets. And if they die, there's going to be a battle amongst the kids. And the way to end that battle is by not having one of them control the money. Instead, have a professional fiduciary, a professional successor trustee handle the money, work with your advisor. Then it's just done per your wishes. And there's no really reason the kids can fight because there's nothing to fight about and there's nobody to get in the middle of that. So, and as for business owners, make sure you have a succession plan too. We have a really great process to help you come up with that. We've done it ourselves, and also buy-sell agreements. So those are kind of the four main bullet points today. And we're always happy to help you walk through this, understand it better. Give us a call, reach out to financialdetox.com on the web. Like, subscribe, hit us up, jason@financialdetox.com. We will help you out and do anything we can to make this process easier for you. As always, thanks so much for tuning in to Financial Detox. We appreciate you watching and hope to catch you on the next show.